Hello everyone, welcome to another live video. This is why damaged people won't leave you alone. That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Show your support, hit the thumbs up button down below. Hit subscribe, click on notifications, and then you will be notified when I go live in the future. Don't forget that you can book a one-on-one with me as well on my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. Now I'm sure many of you, as you're going about your lives, it becomes pretty clear at some point that yes, damaged people are everywhere. Everywhere you go, everywhere you look. Maybe you're thinking you just want to go out to the park today. Maybe you want to go to the mall. But when you get there, you feel like something isn't right. It just doesn't feel normal to you. It feels like something is very wrong. It affects your energy. It affects your vibrational frequency. And then you start to feel like something is wrong with you. Until you then go back home and it's like all of a sudden your energy returns and it creates cognitive dissonance. It makes you wonder what is going on. It makes you wonder if it's you or if it's them. Because one thing that you do know is that when you get around other people, when you go out in public, something doesn't feel right with you. But then you're looking at everyone else and it seems as though they're getting on fine. They're not having any problems. Or at least that is how it seems. If you do the research and you look at the statistics, it seems that actually the opposite is true, as I've spoken about in past live videos. Statistics do reveal that only 1 to 2% of the world's population are empaths. And it's Dr. Ramani, who is a clinical psychologist and a professor at the University of UCLA. As she has said in her videos, 1 in 6 people are narcissists and have NPD. And she believes that potentially 50% of the population are narcissistic. I myself, I would say that it's far more than that. Maybe she just felt that it was controversial, but all you got to do is look on social media. All of these people, all they do is take selfies of themselves. They're so self-absorbed. It's like all they care about is themselves. So of course, when you go out into public with that in mind, of course you're going to feel drained. Of course you're going to feel like something's not right with you. But you're not going to feel that way if you get around a normal, functional, healthy person. They're not going to leave you feeling like that. And in fact, even if something was wrong with you, if you got around a functional, healthy person, it could actually make you feel better about yourself. I mean, it depends if you are closer to their vibration. Usually people who are so far down below, the only way that they can feel comfortable around that type of person is to bring them down. especially if they aren't willing to self-reflect and heal what's within themselves. So yeah, the truth is, the reality is that there are a lot of damaged people in this world. I've seen a statistic as well that says 96% of families in the world are dysfunctional. So this is the majority, it is not the minority. This is going on everywhere that we look, everywhere that we go. This is happening to a lot of people. And how do you know when you are around a damaged person? They're going to want for you the opposite of anything normal, the opposite of anything functional, of anything healthy. They're going to want to impose, project their internal state and condition onto you, because all of this is coming out from inside of them. They've got a lot of traumas that they haven't healed or resolved. And what this really is at the basis of it all is unmet emotional needs from childhood. That's really what it is. That's why it feels so bad when you get around these damaged people. That's how they bring you down. Because their emotional needs weren't fulfilled in childhood, so when you get around them, you feel like that's happening to you, as though your emotional needs are not being fulfilled. Even if you're not involved with them, you're not going to talk to them, you could just go to a mall and you feel like the energy is being drained out of you because they need to extract that from you in order for them to survive emotionally. And this is why people like myself, I've been targeted by several smear campaigns, also gang stalking as well. Because unlike most people in this world, my emotional needs were fulfilled in childhood. Because I can look back and I remember I had a very close relationship with my mother when I was a child. She was always giving me lots of hugs. I remember she also used to massage my feet. She was very affectionate with me as a child, and I felt loved, I felt appreciated. And also at times my father was like that as well. And I remember my sister, she was also very affectionate, and I felt like I was loved by her as a child. And then also, as I've spoken about in past live videos, when I was about 5 or 6 years old, a church minister moved in next door with his wife, and they were like my best friends when I was a child. And of course, you know, they weren't related to me in any way, so they weren't physically affectionate, you know, especially with me being a child. I mean, that would be kind of weird. But they did validate me emotionally. And through any troubles that I was going through, I always felt like I could talk to them about anything. And not only that, but I had the emotional strength within myself. So, unlike a lot of people, I didn't really need any of that too much. I mean, yeah, you know, I liked being loved by my family as a child and by the neighbours next door. It made me feel safe, it made me feel comforted. But then in some ways I also felt quite smothered as well. And that's why at times I would just, when my mother wasn't looking, I would just jump out the window, just go running off down the street. sometimes late at night. I was a bit of a naughty boy sometimes. Always broke the rules. I was quite rebellious. So I also enjoyed my own company as well, because I had that emotional strength within to where I wasn't heavily dependent on another person. I mean, I wasn't completely an independent child where I didn't need anyone or anything. Of course not, that's not what I'm saying. But I wasn't heavily dependent. So I did enjoy my own company as well. And I am sure that many of you can relate to this. Many of you felt loved, appreciated by your family in childhood. Maybe they were affectionate with you. They gave you lots of hugs. You felt like they cared. And as for me, as I've spoken about, later in life I realized that it was fake a lot of times with my family. I mean, that's how it is with narcissistic families as well. It's that they idealize you as a child, and it's almost like they have this unconditional love for you because they can view you as an extension of them, since you haven't established your own separate identity yet. So you may feel loved by narcissistic parents or family members in childhood. And then later when you grow up, you may realize that it was all fake, but by that point, your personality has already developed. And as far as you knew, you felt like it was real. And that can be good enough sometimes, as long as you feel like it is real. And if there's no one there to tell you that it's not, then how do you know the difference? Especially if you don't figure it out until after you turn 16 or 18, when our personalities are finally fixed. So yeah, you may be able to relate to this, but believe it or not, many people in this world can't. Many people in this world are damaged, and it is because they do have these unfulfilled emotional needs in childhood. Their emotional needs were never met. So now, for the rest of their lives, they have to seek emotional validation from other people. Which means that you have to give them your emotional reaction so that they can feel alive. And it is normal to want validation. No human is really immune to that. I believe there was these acts of torture that the CIA used to engage in, where they would completely isolate people, lock them away in a room with no contact with anyone for a certain amount of time. And after just a few days, they all began to go crazy. And I believe that after a few weeks, from what I remember, some of them even died. So, yeah, validation seeking is normal. We do need that to survive. As a species, we are social creatures. But what we're talking about here is very different, because what they want you to validate is very toxic and dysfunctional. It's harmful to you. It's the opposite of normal. They always want to change you into the opposite of whatever they think you are. just so that they can feel validated, they can feel powerful. And it's into the opposite of normal, into the opposite of whatever is usual, typical, or expected. Because that's how they kind of medicate themselves in that moment from the wounds in their childhood of not having their emotional needs fulfilled. So they try to replicate their childhood environment with you, and then they want to be on the other end of it. They want to watch you going through it, so that in that moment it does something for them. It gives them a thrill, a high. In that moment it makes them feel complete, as though they've transferred their energy onto you, and now you're them and they're you, or they're their parents in that moment, and you're the child, you're their child self. So this is what a lot of people are trying to do, and there's no point talking about it with them directly. They're not going to be able to understand. And they may not even be conscious of what they're doing. A lot of people are at a very low level of consciousness and awareness, so they don't even know what they're doing half of the time. And of course, many of them wouldn't know what they're doing because they have the arrested development of a toddler, from when their emotional needs were never fulfilled. It's usually around the age of 2 to 3 years old that we learn empathy. It appears from statistics that 98 to 99% of the world's population did not learn effective empathy when they were 2 to 3 years old, because their emotional needs were not fulfilled. And this lack of empathy has been growing rapidly since 1979, as studies have shown. And I do believe that this may be because of certain movies, music, television, and of course social media. So now what people are doing is they're getting this emotional validation through engaging fantasy, through a movie, maybe imagining that they're a character in that movie, or on social media, using their phones, text messaging. And this acts as a replacement for them. And believe it or not, but for narcissists, this can also be a form of narcissistic supply. And it fulfills a lot of people, because then it puts them in a position of control. And that's really what a lot of people are seeking. They want to be in control because they have an insecure attachment style which developed in childhood. And especially when you get around narcissistic people, they can't be vulnerable. And instead, what they do is suck the life out of you. And all you really have to do is pay attention to that feeling. You can feel it when you are around a predator. You will be able to recognize it if you pay attention to your intuition. So yeah, you will find that when you go out into public, you will feel as though you're taking on the damage of a lot of people. As though you're taking on their emotional wounds, their emotional baggage. As though that's coming on to you. And also you may experience this with your friends or family members, co-workers, bosses, where it's like they always have to be the opposite of anything normal. Because that's what does it for them. That's what gives them a thrill. And typically they will come around you for that because they know that it will affect you. Of course it would affect you because you're not crazy, you're not a psychopath. It's not going to give you a thrill, you're not a masochist. But they are. These types of people are. And even if you say or do something with them, they will laugh along with it. Because they enjoy it as long as they can just pull you into the mud. Damaged people are wounded. If you imagine they've got a wound on them, they're covered in mud. So what makes them feel more comfortable is if they can wound you. If they can pull you into the mud so that you then get dirty. Because then they can look at you like we're not so different after all. Because now you've got mud on you, now you're dirty, well now you've got a wound. So that means you're the same as them. And also because of this, because they're wounded, they're traumatized, they're damaged, they do tend to experience a lot of negative things in their lives. A lot of failed relationships, a lot of things keep going wrong for them. And they have to engage in a lot of destructive acts. So when they can pull you into that, and then they make you like them, they get the mud on you, they wound you, then they kind of have this assumption that they make, and it could be unconscious, but it's like, now you're the same as me, you've got mud on you, you're dirty. Now that must mean that you are deserving of more ill treatment. Because that's just how it works, that's how it works for me. Because they viewed you as an extension of themselves. So that's how they kind of rationalize it in their minds. Because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. If you're around someone who is pure, as we may be, and our purity is defined by us having our emotional needs fulfilled in our childhood, that's what makes us uncontaminated and not damaged. So when they're viewing us as pure, they can't rationalize it then, it doesn't make any sense why you would be deserving of ill treatment, abuse, neglect, or whatever else it may be. So they have to pull you into it, into the drama, into the chaos, into the mud. They have to pile these duties or responsibilities onto you so that you're no longer this easygoing, carefree, light-hearted person. And then inside of them it's like, yes, I knew it. You are no different to me. This is what you need. This is what you deserve. That's how they rationalize it, and that's how they can then continue with the abuse. because they're kind of projecting this onto you, even though it actually has nothing to do with you as a person. They don't even care about who you actually are. That's how they're able to project this onto you. But once you've been around so many predators, you will be able to spot them from a mile away. You will be able to recognize them immediately. Once you've been around so many, when you're the target of a smear campaign or of gang stalking, because you're more experienced in that than anyone else. Especially if you're being gang stalked and you're coming across tens or hundreds of predators every day. You're going to know them better than anyone else. You're going to know exactly who is who. As I have from being gang stalked since 2012, when I was 22 years old. That's when my gang stalking began, and since then, this Twitter page was put up about me, ridiculing and humiliating me, making me look like a fool. So having all of this experience, I can now identify these predators very quickly. Something just feels off. It's like the way that they look at you, they kind of stare you down. You can tell that they need something from you and they don't care about how they're going to get it. They don't care if they harm you. All they care about is what they want. And you've got it and they want to take it from you. Whereas there are also certain ways to identify people who are relatively pure, uncontaminated, empathic. It's their mannerisms, it's the way that they look at you through their eyes. They look at you in a very innocent, curious way, as though they're trying to learn you and understand you. Whereas when a predator looks at you, they think they already know you, they've already got you figured out. They know everything that there is to know. But with people who are pure and empathic, they're looking at you with eyes of curiosity, where it's like, you tell me about yourself. You show me who you are. And that's how you should instantly connect and identify that a damaged, traumatized person has been exposed to certain things, where they've then made these assumptions about people, and they assume that they already know everything they need to know, and they're not interested in learning anything more. So that is the major difference. And it's that look in their eyes, where the predator is looking at you like they're ready to feast on you. They're looking at you like a snack. An innocent person, an empath, will look at you with curiosity, with eyes of wonder, like they want to learn more about you. And another thing as well is people who are innocent and maybe empaths, at times they may feel quite withdrawn, as though they're in themselves, maybe too much in their own heads. And the reason for that is because the way that the world is today, they feel like they're aliens, like they don't belong here, like they don't fit in. That's why they can be closed off, they can be too much in their own heads, and they may not have good social skills at all. I know I didn't before. They may also have a speech impediment or a lisp. They may not be able to communicate effectively. That was the case for me when I was a child. I had to have speech lessons because a lot of people in this world are predators. They don't have that empathy. There's so many narcissists in this world. So people like us, we don't fit in. We don't feel like we belong. So there's no reason for us to talk, to express ourselves. We kind of just shut ourselves down. And that's how this can happen. But yeah, I have seen people who are innocent, are empaths throughout my life. And I may not have realized that at the time. I guess what I did realize is that I did kind of enjoy being in their company. It felt right to be around them, like they gave me space to be myself without judging me. Like they were curious about me, they wanted to know more. Unlike a predator who already thinks they know everything, they've got it all figured out. So, yeah, I may not have realized at the time what it was that I was gravitating towards and what I felt like was missing in my life. But yeah, I have come across other empaths and people who were more innocent like myself. And it felt good to be around those types of people. And what I liked most about it is the way that they were a lot like me. In a way where, because we both were giving each other space to be ourselves, without judgment, without acting like we already know who they are, and instead being curious about each other. So that was a really good thing about it. And it's nice because when you're around that type of person, you don't feel like you have to close yourself off. You feel like you can just be yourself. Because when you're around other people, everything's the opposite of normal. They're damaged, so they're trying to damage you. But when you're around another empath, it's like it's safe for you to be yourself. Because you know that they're not going to damage you. You know that you're not going to feel traumatized, and it's going to feel good when you're around them, when you're communicating with them. Or even if you're in a relationship and you're making love together, you feel like you can be yourself, you can be vulnerable around that type of person. And that's the way that it's supposed to be. Because of course, as I mentioned before, when predators get around an empath, an innocent person, the last thing they're ever going to be is vulnerable around you. They're going to be looking at you like you're a snack. They're going to be looking at you as though they've got you all figured out, rather than as though they're curious about you and wanted to learn more. because that's just how predators are. Remember, they're damaged people. They've got these unmet emotional needs from childhood. So when you're around these types of people, these damaged people, you're going to feel like something's off, something's wrong. Like they're always trying to get you to perform, to do something, and it's always something unnatural. Like they're always trying to get something out of you. Because what they're trying to get out of you is not within them. They don't have that. And that's why they want it out of you. That's why they come around you, to get that out of you. And what that is your emotional validation. They want to feel validated by someone who is pure. Because it doesn't really mean anything to be validated by someone who is damaged and corrupt. That doesn't mean that you're good or that anything's right with you. But when you're validated by something pure, it means the world, it means everything. That's why they want to get that out of you. So when you're around them, you'll constantly feel like they're wanting something out of you. They're wanting you to perform for them. They're trying to take something from you. And it just depletes your energy. It just slows you down. Because they're using you. They're using your mind, your body, and even if they could, their soul. They're using that. And how do they do it? How do they deplete you? How do they slow you down? Just by them being themselves, being who they are, because they're damaged. That's enough to slow you down. Because they are the opposite of normal. They're demonic. And you're good. So you do not align with anything toxic, abuse, anything damaged. You do not align with that. I mean, the only time that you may ever try to is if you're trying to fix them, if you're trying to help them. But then at some point you may realize that you can't. And all that happens is you get pulled into the depths of hell trying to do that. Because that's all that will happen to you. What it comes down to is this. A person who had their emotional needs fulfilled in childhood, their cup is full. So they can pour into your cup. It doesn't have to be all about them. They're not self-absorbed. It's not all about them being a predator and what can they get from you. It's not all about that, because they did have their emotional needs fulfilled in childhood. But if they didn't, then for their entire lives, it's all about, what can I get out of you? What can I drain out of you? How are you going to make me feel good? How are you going to make me feel complete? Whereas for us, it's the opposite. It's more because our cup is full, we want to pour our cup into someone else's. And that's why, if you had your emotional needs fulfilled in childhood, then when you get around other people, close friends, relationship partners, you want to fulfill their emotional needs. So you may be very loving, caring, and affectionate. You may want to be there for them when they need you. Problem is, this gets you caught up with narcissists, but no matter what you give, it's never enough. It can never fill the void, and they just drain the life out of you, and then they blame you. Because narcissists, they're not looking for love, intimacy, or affection. They're not looking for any of that. They're looking for emotional validation, because in their childhood, it was more about, how can you perform? How can you make me look good? Their parent. How can you make the image look good for them? So that's what they're used to. And that's how they use you. It's how can you make them look good? Or sometimes, how can they make you look good in front of other people? Because that can validate them as well. Although they always have to be the star of the show. They've got to be the center of attention at all times. Well, as for us, it's more about giving. And that's how we don't damage people, but they do. Because our cup is full and we're trying to pour into someone else's. We're trying to give our love, our care, our affection. But with narcissists, they're trying to take that from you. It's the big difference between the two. But with these narcissists and damaged people, all they're looking for is the validation, the power and control over you. The last thing they ever want to do is drop the ego and be vulnerable. I don't think they can be vulnerable other than their narcissistic rage. When you are around these damaged people, you literally have to carry the cross. And that's what it's like when you're the target of a smear campaign or gang stalking. You've got to carry that cross, and you've got to sacrifice yourself for every single person who targets you. But even then, it's not enough. What I recommend for those of you, if you feel like you're constantly around damaged people, you should do what I do. Be aware that that energy is there, and then transmute it into something positive. Channel it into some form of art, drawing, painting, journaling, especially if you can use it to help other people. And it's great when you can get that validation from it as well, as I do. But I'm just speaking off the top of my head, and at times I may feel invalidated myself, as though what I'm saying may not be correct, at least until I then watch the video back, and then it makes perfect sense to me and I resonate with everything that I've said. But also, it's amazing how millions of people around the world could watch my videos, and it's like they're all going through the exact same thing, which really just supports the research and statistics. It really backs that up. It reveals that this is actually going on in the world today, and a lot of people are going through it. It's really sad, but we do have to practice radical acceptance by understanding, I guess, a lot of people in this world are damaged. And what do I mean by damaged? They're broken. They're broken inside. They were broken a long time ago in their childhoods because they were neglected or abused by their parent or caregiver. So they have no identity, they don't know who they are. They're disconnected from themselves and their emotions. And they hate it when they see you and you have your own identity. You're connected to your emotions, you could be vulnerable. That makes them sick. So they want to make you shut yourself off. That's why when you see so many empaths, it's like, it seems as though they've shut themselves off from the world. Especially people who are schizophrenic as well. It's because they're at the effect of these predators who want to make them just like them. They want to make you the same as them. Where they're shut off, they can't feel anything, so they don't want you to feel anything as well. They're disconnected from themselves and their emotions, so whenever they get around you, whenever you're near them, you will begin to disconnect from yourself and your emotions. And they may even impose false characters onto you because they use false characters. They haven't got a true self because they're damaged. They didn't develop a true self in childhood because they were neglected or abused. They weren't emotionally validated. So they abandoned their true self and created a false self. And that's why when they get around you, it's all about disrupting you, trying to get you to disconnect, imposing false characters onto you. In contrast to when you do get around someone who's not damaged, someone who does have a strong identity, someone who is connected to their emotions, that type of person, when they're around you, you will know, because they're not going to feel comfortable if you're not connected to yourself. And if you're not connected to your emotions. If you don't know who you are and you can't be yourself, you can't be vulnerable, they're not going to feel comfortable around you. It's going to make them feel very awkward. It's not going to make them feel good at all. And they may initially try to bring that out of you to get you to open up. But otherwise, they're just going to accept that with some people, there's just nothing there. There's nothing we can do. We just have to leave them alone. But narcissists can fake it as well for a certain amount of time. They can manipulate you, love bomb you, reflect your own qualities and virtues back to you. And it's kind of like they want to switch places with you. They want you to be them and them to be you. Because it all goes back to their childhood when their emotional needs weren't fulfilled, but yours were. And that's like the only thing they could ever want in the world, is to go back and for them to be that person who does have their emotional needs fulfilled. So that's why they want to be you, as you may have noticed already. And you will know they want to be you because they get around you, they steal your energy. They want your energy, the energy that's belonging to you. They want a piece of you. They want you to become a part of them. And yeah, this happens sometimes in relationships, of course. You want to have a part of the person you're with You want to share your energy with them, and for them to share their energy with you, and so that you complement, you validate each other. But it's very different with these predators because they have nothing to give. All that's happening is they're pulling you into a very dark place. They're pulling you into a void. And that's how you know, again, that nothing is inside of them, that they're fake people. There's nothing even there. Because otherwise, when you interact with someone, you actually can't control it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Whether you like it or not, there will be a transfer of energy in every interaction that you ever engage in. Every interaction will either raise your vibration or lower it. It won't stay the same. Because no two people are exactly the same level of frequency. And that's how you know when you get around them and you feel like you're being pulled out of yourself. It's almost like the opposite of an exorcism. Instead of a spirit being pulled out of you, it's like you're being pulled out of yourself, and then a demonic spirit is being placed into you. So potentially that's what's going on as well, is they're putting these spirits into you. And we may see that with schizophrenics as well, when they have these episodes. It's like they've been taken over by a demonic spirit. I felt that myself a few times in my life from being around these damaged people. But it's never, obviously it's never been permanent, because as you can see, I'm able to converse with you now, and I'm able to help you. And I've still got this goodness, this kindness in my heart to get on you every day and just do whatever I can to make things better in the world. But these types of people, as I've said before, I do believe that, yeah, they are demonically possessed. They're driven by demons. And when you get around them, they will suck the life out of you, quite literally. As you've probably heard in pretty much every YouTuber who speaks about this, they will all tell you the same thing. You will feel like the life is being sucked out of you. Literally, like your spirit is leaving your body and going into a void never to be seen again. But then luckily, because of our childhood, our emotional needs were fulfilled, we do have a sense of identity. We can keep regenerating it from within. So they can't take it away from us, they can only deplete us. But we can always get it back. They can't get it back. They will always be that way. When they get around us, we are giving them life. That's why they come around us. And of course, we don't willingly go around demons. But they do. They feel quite comfortable with other damaged people. They like that. They like that kind of thing, and they want to make you the same way. So that then it's on their turf, and it vibes with them. It makes them feel comfortable. Because if it's not dysfunctional, if it's not toxic, then they feel uncomfortable. Because then it just reminds them of what they are inside. Everything that they're distracting themselves from. When they see you, it's like then they actually see what they're pretending to be. They see that you're actually the real deal. But they're also in denial, and they try to push it away or act like it's something else. But actually, if you really look into it, you do the research, you will see that this is how it is. And this is why they target people like us, is because they know we're innocent, we're empathic. They kind of see it as naivety, like we're fools. But they feel very safe and secure around us because they assume that no matter what they do, we're not going to do anything about it. We're not going to set a boundary, we're not going to protect ourselves, so they like that. Of course, they would never actually target someone who is bad, someone who is dangerous, someone who is crazy. They would never get around a person like that because obviously they would put themselves at risk of danger or harm. So that's why they do specifically target empathic people. Not all the time, but most of the time. I mean, actually, I would say pretty much all the time. If you do believe that you could be quite dangerous to them in person, then they'll probably go more for voice to skull technology, because they know if they get around you too close, then it could be dangerous for them. They only come around close to people who they know, yes, you know, you're pure, you're innocent. To them, you're just naive, foolish. They know that they can exploit you, they can take advantage of you. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. When a predator sees someone who's innocent, naive, they're looking at it like, yeah, I can exploit you, I can take advantage of you. They're not thinking that way with someone who is experienced. Experienced in what? Of course, experienced in doing the wrong things, to where they didn't have their emotional needs fulfilled as a child, so then they went and exploited people for their own personal gain. Of course, they're not going to target someone like that, because then it's risky, it's dangerous for them to try and exploit someone who's also very experienced at exploiting people, because then they could be the ones who are exploited. So for that reason, they have to target innocent people, people who are the opposite of what they are. But this is also why you may find that you're always alone, you don't have any friends, because most people are fake. And as I've said before, like attracts like. They do not want to get around you. They don't want to be around someone who's innocent, pure, empathic, just so they can feel bad about themselves, like they're not good enough, they're inadequate, like their emotional needs were never fulfilled. That's why you're always alone, because most people are like that. That's why you're always alone as a chosen one, an empath, because like attracts like. And this is why, if you have come across empaths in the past, you may notice that you're actually very attracted to them. And you may find that they're attracted to you as well. Because like attracts like. The only time that opposites may attract is when people desire to have a quality or possession that the other person has, maybe envy. So even then, it's not actually that opposites attract, because what they're doing is they're separating those qualities, those possessions from you. They're not seeing it as a part of you, because they're viewing you as their narcissistic extension. So it's got nothing to do with you at all. So opposites don't attract. It's not that narcissists attract codependents or codependents attract narcissists. Although I know that's what Rosenberg has said in his human magnet syndrome. But remember, these things are separated from the person. It's seen as something that we desire to possess for ourselves, rather than appreciating it in the other person. Unlike in a relationship where, as I said, like attracts like, that's more about you both have the same quality, so you're not desiring to have that quality, you're just appreciating it. So that means you are actually attracted to that person rather than just the qualities or anything that's you're separating from them. But that's just my personal theory, my personal belief. I mean, I know Ross Rosenberg does say in his human magnet syndrome, he pretty much says that opposites attract. But then at the same time, remember that he does say narcissists and codependents are like opposite sides of the same coin. So they both have that childhood trauma. So that's what attracts them as well, is that trauma. And if you do believe that you are a codependent, you may find that as soon as you try to heal, they want to pull you back, because it's Ross Rosenberg's human magnet syndrome, where they feel this magnetic pull to your childhood trauma. And you may feel pulled to theirs, and it creates this trauma bond. So yeah, thinking about it, I do agree with that. I mean, I guess he's not really saying that opposites attract. I mean, he is saying more it's opposite sides of the same coin. So there is a similarity there as well. There is like a common interest. And that's why it's so important to heal your codependency. But typically when that happens, it's kind of the same as going grey rock. When you begin to heal, it will ramp up the abuse. They may become a lot worse because they want to pull you back down to being traumatized just like them, so they have someone to bond with, something that they resonate with, again, as I was saying before. So then you're on their turf. It's something that vibes with them, even though it's something you may want to get away from, something that you are growing out of. You don't want to resonate with your childhood trauma anymore. But yeah, this is what all YouTubers say. I've seen it so many times. So many YouTubers have said that exact moment when you forget about them, you begin to move on, you start to heal. It's like they have this sixth sense. They can sense it energetically. And then immediately they blow up your phone, they text you, they come back, because they got to pull you back into it. Otherwise, it's very lonely for them. But as for them, they're always going to be stuck that way for the rest of their lives. And the only way they can get by, the only way they can survive, is by damaging, traumatizing other people to make them just like them. Well, as for us, we're trying to get away from all of that. I mean, yes, we may accept, we didn't have a perfect childhood. Our emotional needs were fulfilled to some degree. But we didn't have a perfect childhood. We experienced some trauma. We may have been around narcissists, but we're trying to leave that behind. We're trying to get away from it. And that's really the key. That's the secret to why they keep pulling you back into it. It's like Ross Rosenberg says again, don't wrestle with pigs, you might get dirty, and besides, the pig likes it. But that wasn't his quote, it was from someone else. But I remember he mentioned it in his video. So this is why they are that way. And although they try to trauma bond you, if you look deeper into it, you will find that it's actually the other way around. And it does appear as though they are codependent in some ways, and they're actually more dependent and attached to you than you ever were to them. They need you far more than you need them. Because just look at it, as soon as you try to move on, you try to heal, what do? They come right back. They want to pull you back into it again. You're trying to move on, you're trying to do something else. No, they won't let you do that. All they want you to do is to go back into the mix, be around them again. Because it fills a void. It provides them with a false sense of identity. Without that, they're left to their own devices. They've only got just their own void. And this isn't just with narcissists, this is just damaged people in general. This is what they're like. This is just the way they are. And this is why the only thing you can do is get away from them, go into contact, because when you're around damaged people, all they can do is damage you. All they can do is damage you. Because otherwise they feel uncomfortable, they feel like they're alone. They've got to pull you into it. This is just the dynamic when you're around narcissists and you're a codependent, or you may not be a codependent. This can happen with empaths as well. And remember, even codependency, it's a spectrum. And most people will have some level of codependency. Anyway, let me know what you think about what I've said in this video so far. Let me know in the live chat. If you have any questions, I will read them out and respond to them. Dana Mitchell says they make you feel like you have all their issues. That's right, in many ways they do need a partner in crime. They need someone who is codependent or empathic, where it's like pretty much no matter what they do, no matter what they say, because of the way we were raised, you're going to agree to it. You're going to accept it. You're going to feel it as though it's yours, as if you own it. When they deflect their unhealed parts onto you, you're going to accept it. And that's what they're looking for. And that's also what's so rare in this world, is for someone to have that space within themselves where they can accept it. Because they're not completely self-absorbed, they're not full of themselves. And it's very rare to find someone like that. So when they do find you, they will do their best to hold on to you. So yeah, Dana, that's right. They do make us feel like we've got all of their problems, all of their issues. Kingdom First Ministries says damaged people, damaged people. Bleeding people bleed onto others. Very true, as I said. Damaged people will damage you. If someone is not damaged, they will give you a life. But then that's the thing for damaged people. When they get around people who are not damaged, they can't get anything out of that because they can't be vulnerable, they can't experience that connection, intimacy. So all they can do is really harm you to get something out of you. They have to hurt you, or at the very least they have to manipulate you, they have to trick you. And as I've said before, with narcissists, all a narcissist can give to another person is manipulation and illusion. I mean, it's either that or you get the narcissistic rage. It's going to be one of the two. It's going to be the manipulation, the illusion, or it's going to be the narcissistic rage, because that's the only real thing about them. And of course they don't want anyone to see that. They've got to try and disguise it as something else through their manipulation, because otherwise, if they just reveal the beast within, the monster that they actually are, then hopefully it should be pretty clear to you that it is them and not you. And of course they don't want you to come to that conclusion, because they're not self-validating or self-sustaining. They need an accomplice, a partner in crime, someone to agree with it. They need you to agree with it, because they're not self-validating, they're not self-sustaining, because everything they have is fake. It's a false reality, a false character. That's why they need you. Jenna Rue says, we think you're awesome, Christopher. Important work you do. Thank you so much, Jenna. I appreciate your kind words. AK says, well, yeah, we are a social species. Yes, we are a social species. Although I know it's difficult for a lot of us, because it's hard for us to find people who are like us. People who aren't crazy, they're not weirdos. But I do believe that deep down that is what we want. I mean, that's why we gravitate towards these communities, to find like-minded people. And then when we get around them, we enjoy socializing. We enjoy being a part of this group, because we all have like-minded beliefs, like-minded values, rather than like narcissists, damaged people. What they bond together over is abuse, destruction, humiliation, being fake. That's their idea of fun. That's what brings them joy. Just fighting, drama, arguments, chaos, gossiping. They love that. They can't get enough of it. They could do it for the rest of their lives. Well, as for us, it's the opposite. We prefer things that are healthy, functional, normal. They're like the opposite of anything normal. If you're with a narcissist, they don't want to make love, they'd rather fight. Or if it does seem like they want to make love, it's going to be abusive in some way. It's going to be something like BDSM, something crazy, something abnormal. That's just what they're into. That's what floats their boat. That's what makes them tick. Because in any moment, all they ever really want to do is take your power away from you. They want you to disconnect from yourself and connect to their demons. So then in that moment they can feel like they actually have a soul, when in reality they do not. Emily Agapi says, all of the qualities they admired so much about you in the beginning of the relationship, they somehow grow to hate and become even resentful towards you for simply being yourself as time continues on. I agree with that. That's really how it is. when they idealize you, all of these things that they say drew them to you and they liked about you, that is what they then hate and resent later on. And they might even tell you that. That's the crazy thing. When they're love bombing you, they may say that they like a certain thing. It could be a physical trait or some other characteristic, but they will point it out and say that they like that about you. And then it could be a few days, a few weeks when they begin devaluing you. Then they'll go off on a tangent about why they hate that very quality or characteristic so much, and why it's the reason why they're then turning against you. It really doesn't make any sense. Not Dill says, bro, it's just like go to therapy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If only they would just go to therapy. But even then, when they do go to therapy, sometimes they just manipulate the therapist, use them as a source of supply, or if the therapist is on to them, then what they will do instead is discredit the therapist, make them look bad, and even sometimes start a smear campaign against them or try to get them fired from their job. So it's not always that simple. Even therapists can't deal with them. Narcissists think that they're always right, they're perfect, everyone else is wrong. Doesn't matter if a therapist has been in college for all of those years and they've got all of that experience, they will disagree, they will discredit them, because narcissists are completely delusional, they're not even in reality. But yeah, if only they could just go to therapy, if only that would just solve everything. Well, as for us, well, that's why we're all here, because we're finding this therapeutic, being vulnerable, talking about it. And that's why we're the ones who heal, we're the ones who grow. Kingdom First Ministries says, so good. Going no contact really robs them of life. It really does rob them of life. It robs them of your energy. And then that's why they get so mad. It causes a narcissistic injury. And then they'll turn against you instead of trying to improve and be better for you, or recognizing that the entire time they were abusing you, doing all of these hurtful things to you. They can't see that because they're disconnected from themselves. There's no one actually there. So that's why that never happens. And that's why they will typically start a smear campaign to use all these other people, their enablers, their flying monkeys as supply. But even then, that's typically just to target you, because all of these monkeys, they're not good sources of supply. Of course, they all recognize at some level that they're all just as fake as them. So that's why they target you, instead of just being like, all right, these are my people, we're right, we've got plenty of life here, we'll just go off our own and forget about you. They don't do that because they can't find another empath, another chosen one. They can't find anyone else like you. Even though all of their enablers are flying monkeys, there is no one like you. I mean, of course there wouldn't be. What kind of an empath, a chosen one, would be a flying monkey or an enabler? They just wouldn't get involved in that. Typically they're the ones who are the targets. Got a few flies around you. But yeah, it's sad that there are all of these damaged people in the world. And I wish it wasn't like that. It seems like everywhere you go, people just want to drain you. People just want to fight. But we do have to practice radical acceptance. That is how it is. This is what most people are like. That's their idea of fun. That's their idea of joy. But what I would like to say is that I am very grateful. I can appreciate these occasions, these memories, these moments that I've had in my life with other empaths, people who are pure, or were pure at least, were innocent. And yeah, it's great when you get around them, because you may have been around all of these toxic and dysfunctional people, and then you get around another empath, someone who's pure and innocent, and it is like, how do I even describe it? It's just like such a relief. You just feel cleansed, purified. In that moment, you just feel brand new. It is an incredible feeling. As I'm sure it was for them as well to be around me. Not like when we get around these predators, these narcissists. Of course, they get off, they have their fun with us, using and abusing us, but it's no fun for us. If anything, it just makes us feel shame, anger, frustration. It just makes you feel like shit. And why does it make you feel like shit? Because you're around shit. That's pretty much what it is. If you're around shit, you're around dirt, you're around garbage, you're not going to feel cleansed, you're not going to feel pure. You're not going to feel anything like that. This is why they're the ones who come around us. Because when they come around us, then they feel cleansed, they feel pure. But they're trauma bonded, they're stuck, it's like a drug. What they really need to do is repent, confess their sins, and develop their relationship with God, and also their relationship with themselves. Because that's how we connect to God. You can't connect to God with a false self. So that's what they need to do, instead of being stuck in this endless cycle for the rest of their lives. But is that even possible? Who knows? Can these damaged people purify themselves? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. But as long as they're active, as long as they're going AWOL, they're on a mad one, obviously that's pretty obvious. It should suggest that they are deficient, they're missing something, they're seeking that cleansing, that purification from you. Because, I mean, it's literally what it's like for them. When they get around you, it's like they're being baptized, they're being born again. It's like you're giving them a bath, you're giving them a shower. You're cleansing them, you're purifying them. But it's no good for us, because when they get around us, it's like we're around shit, garbage. And we got to go off on our own and take a bath. We got to clean ourselves after being around them, because we feel dirty, disgusting. We don't feel good about ourselves, but they feel good about themselves when they come around us. But it's not like that for us, though, is it? But when you get around another empath, someone who is pure, something that they will never get to experience in their lives is it feels like you and the other person at the same time, you both feel clean, you both feel pure together. Something they can't experience and won't ever experience. It's always going to be some form of exploitation, whether they're being exploited or they're exploiting someone. It's never going to be that shared experience, other than if they're bonded with someone over their target's destruction. That's why they're so addicted to smear campaigns and gang stalking, because that's the closest thing they can ever get to that. To having a shared experience of fun, joy, excitement with another person, the closest thing they can ever get. This is why they love gossiping. They love bonding with other people over your destruction, because that's the closest thing they can get to what we get, which is this pure moment where it's not bringing anyone down. We're not seeking to harm anyone. Unfortunately, it may harm them because they're very jealous and they know they'll never get to experience that. But yeah, I'm very dizzy now being out here. Being around this energy is not good. But I do it for you because it's better than just making these videos every day in the hotel. It's good to come out here to the park, to be around nature. But yeah, it's hard being around other people. And I'm sure you can relate to that as well. When you get around these other people and they're damaged, it makes you feel damaged as well, like you need to go off and repair yourself after being around them. Even if they try to be fake and give it the false character, that still doesn't feel good. That still makes you feel dirty, disgusting, like you just want to go off somewhere else on your own. Because it's fake. But yeah, it kind of like, it makes you feel confused. It doesn't feel good in your mind whenever you're around them. And this is why you don't like to be around these types of people, because of how they make you feel and how they have to rob you, exploit you just for them to survive. They carry such a horrible energy. It's so dark, so thick and dense, it just pulls you down. It's not a nice experience at all. It just makes you feel very confused, like you don't know who you are. But they love it. They enjoy every minute of it. It's their idea of fun, their idea of joy. It gives them a thrill, excitement, kind of like what we get when we meet another empath, we fall in love. Something that they will never get to experience. But we get that and we enjoy it. But it will never be like that for them, because they don't want to share another person's experience. They don't want to appreciate someone. Instead, they just want to rob you of your qualities, maybe your possessions as well, because they're very envious. They want to be you. They want your energy, and they want to dump their toxic, negative energy into you. But I do enjoy doing these lives. I like talking to you and sharing this information with you. And especially when I watch these videos back, I just like knowing that I'm doing something good and helping people. Because I believe that's what I came here to do. And that's how I'm able to get on here for such a long time, because I'm motivated by knowing that I am making a difference in so many people's lives. I know that just my voice, and just by you seeing my face right now, it's helping you, it's validating you, it's giving you what you need, it's giving you what you couldn't get, what you can't get, what you won't get, what you will never get from these toxic, damaged people. You will never get that from them. But you can get that from me. Anytime you need to, I am always here for you. But yeah, anyway, it's time for me to go off now and repair the damage, heal the traumas from being around so many damaged, traumatized people today. I mean, that's just how it is when you go out into the city. It's been proven that people who grow up in built up areas where everything's close together in cities, they are far more likely to develop schizophrenia. But yeah, I'm going to end it here now. It's very difficult for me to think because I've been out here for such a long time. I need to go and take some time to myself, remember who I am, my values, what I stand for, what I believe in. Regain my strength, my health, my power. Heal the traumas that I have taken on from the public here. So yeah, that's it for this one. I'd like to thank you for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. I do appreciate you all. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. I do read your comments every day. Your comments are very important to me. Hit subscribe and click all notifications to be notified when I upload a new video. And if you would like to donate to help support our community, you can leave a super chat in the live chat, a super thanks in the comment section, or you can go to my PayPal. It is paypal.me/narcsurvivor. If you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, just go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And also you can follow me on my Instagram, where you can see pictures and videos of my travels, which I upload to my stories every day on there. My Instagram is Narc Survivor YouTube. And also I am now uploading pictures and videos from last year's trip to Sri Lanka, which you may like to see as well. So yeah, just go to my Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. Thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. I love you all. Thank you all for your support. And I look forward to speaking with you again in another live video very soon.